Hello everyone and welcome to the latest series of podcasts with myself, Liam Carroll, a qualified financial consultant with SYS Wealth and Financial Planners. And the idea behind these podcasts is to give some valuable nuggets of information to people with some outstanding professionals giving health to your wealth. Delighted today to be joined by Rowan Fitzgerald of Rowan Fitzgerald Auctioneers. Rowan is 41 years of age in Limerick auctioneering circuit since the year 2000. He's his own business since 2008. Married to Aoife with two girls, Pippa and Millie, and he enjoys all sports and has an interest in economics as well. So Rowan, thanks very much for taking the time out of your virtual schedule to join us today.
No problem, Liam. Thanks for inviting me to come on.
No problem at all. I suppose, Rowan, the first question to ask is, on a personal level, how has the pandemic virus, how has it affected yourself?
Yeah, I suppose, like everyone, I think this came out of left centre and took us all by surprise. It is, I suppose it's tough being, made effectively work from home, and very tough not being able to get out and do your normal everyday things. But the main thing is that we're all healthy and keeping the business going. Yeah.
Very important. And moving on then from the business you mentioned there, professionally, how has the pandemic affected you?
Do you know what? I think there's pros and cons that will come out of all this. Probably more cons, but I mean the pros is that I think it's forced us to do business in a different way. I know I was speaking with yourself a week or so ago about DocuSign, we found that very good because there's so many bits and pieces to be signed in our industry, and more meetings like this online. And I'll be straight up with you that before the COVID-19 emergency came along, I didn't really know how to use Zoom or how to use DocuSign and the likes. So yeah. I suppose it's pushed people to adapt, and that's what we've done.
And clients have adapted, Rowan, haven't they?
Yeah.
We find the clients have adapted anyway, and they've got used to the new way of doing things. But I think you found the same, would you think? Or
absolutely, yeah.
Way to go yet?
Yeah. As like I said, there's going to be pros and cons come out of it, but I think it's in a way it's made people. When we do get back to some type of normality, I think it's made people a little bit sharper.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some nuggets of information from your own professional background, I suppose, really for people coming out of the COVID that they can use themselves going forward, Rowan.
Right. A lot of analysts are saying that we're going to have a very, very bad recession, and that every country in Europe is going to go into recession, and yes, they're probably right. But there are people, saying that the complete bottom is going to fall out of the property market.
Yeah.
I would say to them that they, be careful, because yes, inevitably prices will go down, and they've started going down already. But I don't think prices are going to go down as far as what people think they will. So.
Yeah.
Maybe don't, if you do have an opportunity to buy a property and you're kind of thinking, oh, that will go for, another, 20-30% lower, just wait a couple of months. I think people might be quite surprised, because once the restrictions are eased, I think, we won't have the activity that we had before the pandemic. But there is going to be activity there, and every property, I think every single property we have, whether it's for let or for sale, we have a list of people who want to go and look at them after the restrictions are lifted. So yes, prices will probably fall, but I don't think they're going to fall as much as what people think they will.
Okay. No, that's very interesting. The media paint a lot of stories, but that's interesting to hear the professional viewpoint on it, Rowan. Some tips for people using your auctioneering background. I suppose there's a couple of sectors that you're involved in, the rental market and the property purchase market.
Yeah.
Any tips for people that you can give using your background?
Yeah. A lot of the time people think that if they're selling their house, they just think that it's phone the auctioneer, we put up a for sale sign outside the house and that's it. We'll see how it goes, and maybe that's how it was, up to 20 years ago. Okay, but there is, in order to have a successful sale, the seller does need to do what I call homework, and there's quite a nice bit of it before the for sale sign goes up. And the main things would be that if your house has a mortgage on it, you need to have your solicitor apply for the deeds. That can take 6 weeks sometimes. And in these times can probably take even longer. Nothing can be done without the deeds being on your solicitor's desk. You need to have your local property tax paid up. So that means you have to issue your solicitor with your receipts for all your local property tax. You have to have a BER cert done on your house. If you have any extensions, all those have to have either planning permission or retention or a cert of compliance. So, sometimes again, people think that I know I have an extension, but sure, it'll be grand.
Yeah.
It won't be grand. It will be picked up by the buyer's solicitor. They will check into it. So, and all that has to be done before for sale sign goes up, because if you don't do it and you get somebody to agree to buy your house, you've agreed a figure. The normal conveyancing time is maybe 12 weeks, sometimes maybe 10 weeks, and maybe sometimes shorter than that. But how you can kind of guarantee or give better odds to you having a successful sale is by the seller doing their homework first, and that's by getting their deeds, issuing the local property tax receipts, having your BER cert all done from the word go. We would give that simple checklist to people who we deal with, and the people who do it, the sales go through much cleaner and much quicker.
It's very interesting. I think an awful lot of people, Rowan, wouldn't be aware of all those things that have to be done, but it's very interesting to hear from your perspective. I suppose with a nugget of information, I suppose something, Rowan, that people just wouldn't be aware of that you think is a totally underused, be it from the rental market or the purchasing market, underused nugget in the market that people just don't use and are not aware of?
Don't use or are not aware of. I suppose in the rental market, even though we have, we don't have a huge supply of property for rent at the moment throughout the whole country. But the best way of picking up a good tenant, and that's what's the most important part of the equation is, it's a lot of the time people think that the most important part of the equation in a rental is the amount of rent you're getting, but it isn't. It's the tenant who goes in through the front door. And in order to attract the good tenant, that is that you keep your property modern, you keep it very clean. When it's been relet, it should be as clean as can be. And a lot of time, landlords do try and skip that, and they say, "Oh, look, we'll go in and we'll clean it ourselves over the weekend," or something like that. But there's a huge difference in, the normal landlord going cleaning it themselves over the weekend and getting in the professional company to do it. And if a good tenant walks into a property they can see that's clean, it's fresh, it's modern, they want to take it.
They do, yeah.
And you want that good tenant, and that would probably be one of the best bits of advice that I can give.
You're setting the standard nearly, in fairness. One question as well for you, Rowan. I know we spoke about it going back a long while, but we're involved in the pension market, as you know, and a lot of people will purchase property through their pension. Any advice for people on that side, or have you done a good few of those, or a good few sales gone through on that side recently?
I'm sorry about that, Liam. I'm sorry about that. Will we keep going?
We keep going anyway. Keep going anyway. Yeah.
It's a bit like the guy on Sky News. Not as bad, maybe. Yeah, we've dealt with a number of people who have bought property through their pension, which is it is a great idea. It's becoming more and more popular. I have to say that 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of people kind of didn't even know that that was possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is. It's very good. You know, the rent comes in, it's tax free. The rent is tax free coming in, as opposed to being taxed at you know the normal level, which is usually the higher rate of tax. A little bit more paperwork involved, but in the long run, it is, yeah, it's a very good option for people. Yes, they're not supposed to handle the letting and management of it themselves. That's why they have to give it to somebody like ourselves. Has to be at an arm's length transaction. But yeah, it's any of the clients that we have that have bought property for their pension, yeah, they seem very happy with it.
Yeah, from our point of view, it's gone very popular over the last 3 or 4 years. We have a number of them done, but obviously we didn't know the difficulty from the auctioneer's point of view, but it's not that difficult a transaction, even in comparison to a normal transaction anyway, Rowan. So it's not.
No, it isn't. It's all very much the same. Yeah.
Final question for you. Best bit of advice that you ever got?
Best bit of advice that I ever got? Yeah. I suppose there's a couple of them, but patience, I suppose, is
very important in your industry, Rowan.
Yeah, it probably is. Don't be the one that's the one to lose the rag. If you ever do get into a heated conversation, let the other person lose the rag.
The high moral ground, Rowan, you're saying, is it?
Yeah, take a couple of deep breaths. Yes, yeah. A pause and a couple of deep breaths.
That's very good. Rowan, thanks very much. Rowan's information are at the front of the presentation, and they'll also be at the end of it here. So if you have any queries from an auctioneering point of view, be it rental or sale of a property or looking to purchase a property, Rowan is very honourable and is a great man to contact. So Rowan, thanks very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today anyway.
Thanks very much, Liam. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And final question, I suppose, Rowan, in one sense, your big interest in sport. Can you see hurling coming back this year and possibly Limerick winning another All-Ireland?
Well, hopefully. That's yeah. And if they do get back, I think they'd have a very, very good chance at it. So let's all hope that we do see that.
Excellent. We finished off on a sporting team. Thanks to everyone for listening and watching. And in these times, stay safe. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Liam. Bye.